Okay, so we can't progress anywhere with Yuza, Sato, or Yumeko, so I guess that means we're off to Abby. Arnav Barnum, a cheerful fantasy author, sets off on a trip to visit the mermaid legends of Issei Bay with his relative, Cersei Luderlight, as his guide. Oh, we didn't know, they didn't tell us that before that they were related. Date unknown, August 1980-something morning, Kawage Town, Nakabeppo Coast. After much hustle and bustle, we finally managed to make our way to Issei Bay. Nice. Take it all in now. We're standing on the coast of Nakabeppo in the Mie Prefecture's Kawage Town. Which means this is the Sea of Issei, the connection to the eternal world. How amazing. Indeed it is. Come, Cersei. Henceforth begins our grand adventure in search of the legendary mermaids of Issei Bay. How amazing. I just can't stop saying it. Without further ado, my name is Arnav Barnum, an American-born fantasy author. Please call me Avi. Is he talking to us, the camera? Who are you introducing yourself to? Weirdo. Oh well, I simply thought a new beginning called for a little dramatic flair, you know? Sure. With that out of the way, perhaps my darling guide can provide some insight into the going-ons of the locale. Sure, I've got you covered. While this area is now called Nakabeppo, long ago it was a region of Issei province known as Betsuho. Records indicate that 3 mermaids were caught in a fisherman's net along this coast back in the Heian period. Now that's what I'm talking about. Let's hear more about those mermaids. They had human heads with the mouths of monkeys, and the teeth and bones bodies of fish, and they spoke and even shed tears like humans. Could this be the fish mermaids you mentioned before, Abby? Indubitably, yes, this must be the place. I'm getting goosebumps. Right? I feel the same way. This is so exciting. The endless expanse of the Issei Sea. The eternal world may lie just beyond this horizon. After all, the Issei province is the land whither repair the waves from the eternal world. The eternal world is purported to be a perpetual paradise, a separate plane from the world we live in, yes. Could it be that mermaids hail from such a place? We've come all this way to a distant foreign land seeking mermaids. Of course, I have my own reasons for trying to locate the mythical creatures. But for now, I intend to scour this land in order to learn as much as I can about its lore and legends. But it occurs to me I never actually explained the particulars of my Issei Bay mermaid excursion to the girl. No matter, it's nothing of consequence really, so I'll just introduce my reasons a bit at a time. Arnav Barnum, male, author and occult journalist, 40 years old, nicknamed Avi. Fantasy author and occult journalist whose books are published in both America and England, but they apparently don't sell well, unmarried. Notable works include The Fiend of Ringet and The Solar Crow, Ermod's Travels, and Bon Appetit the Phantom Gourmand series. Although he is a grown man, he still has a certain naive boyishness to him, most evident in his passion for romantic tales and appetite for chasing his dreams. However, this also comes with an equivalent amount of immaturity, making him somewhat troublesome to deal with. He believes that most any circumstances he finds himself in will sort themselves out, an optimistic creed that often sees him casually throwing himself into difficult situations, and he remains impressively unbothered even on those occasions he does find himself in trouble, often managing to slip out of danger with nary a dent in his usual carefree attitude. That he's made it this far unscathed is largely owed to his sheer luck, although he remains blissfully unaware of this. He's currently living in Japan seeking mermaid flesh, which is believed to grant immortality. His reason is simple, a fascination with the occult, a pursuit he feels is worthy of devoting his entire life to. Indeed, he is primarily driven by his pursuit of romantic ideals. If he finds something suitably inspiring, he will readily risk his life for it, and is willing to change his views just as quickly for the same. Avi's interest in the occult was born when he discovered his great-grandmother's vast collection of mysterious occult artifacts in the storage of his family home in America. Among them was a mermaid mummy, which yielded a mysterious map when taken apart, a discovery which captivated his imagination and led to his current quest. That's the one that they mentioned in Yumiko's story. This great-grandmother happened to be a relative of the main Lunar Light family in England, albeit one who had chosen not to succeed the family estate. After discovering this through independent research into his lineage, Avi made contact with the Lunar Light family, and continues to maintain a secret correspondence with them to this day. Also, it's just, how come I can only access the bird chart from the story chart? Should they let me look at that whenever I get a bird? But then would such mermaids be so easily trapped by simple fishing nets? I thought them more cunning than that, but perhaps these fish mermaids are in fact nothing more than simple sea creatures. This young lady is a distant relative of mine, the third daughter of the Lunarlight family. The Lunarlights have been in the business of demonic exorcism in England for several generations now. As such, young Circe has received education on this rare subject from a young age, and is now an apprentice exorcist. In order to continue her training, or more likely simply because of her interest in the area, Circe came to Japan to study abroad. Upon hearing such news, I sought to employ her as my guide for this mermaid hunting expedition to Issei Bay. She is apparently quite fond of Japanese myths and folktales, and has already explored a number of areas concerned with the occult. Interested in visiting Mie Prefecture at least once during her stay, she immediately agreed to my request. Circe Lunarlight, female exorcist 15 years old. A young exorcist from England, currently on exchange in Japan. Possessed of a bold and willful nature, she harbors an ardent interest in Japanese folklore and occult stories. She is quick to involve herself in anything that interests her, not stopping until her curiosity has been completely sated. Although she can be fairly blunt, she shows a naivety appropriate to her age around those she's comfortable with, and is not above the occasional prank. Circe is the third daughter of Kiara Lunarlight, the current head of the matrilineal Lunarlight family, a long line of exorcists based in England. Along with her two older sisters, she has received a specialized education in exorcism ever since she was a child, and is currently in training as an apprentice. As the beings known as demons in the West ultimately share the same root as harmful supernatural phenomena in the East, the spirits of the dead, strong thoughts and curses, what she does as an exorcist is fundamentally the same as what Japanese psychics do, with only the methods and terminology differing. Primary spiritual abilities, guardian spirits, the ability to call upon the numerous guardian spirits of the Lunarlight family, and invoke their powers to exorcise spirits, and negate certain psychic abilities. Shikigami, the ability to turn a piece of paper with an individual's name written on it into a butterfly, which will return to the individual in question. Although she does not have to be the one who wrote the name, it must be Circe who casts the spell on the paper. It says here that her abilities are Western in nature, but it's the same abilities as Japanese, but the terminology is different. How come this one has a Japanese name? Shouldn't this one have an English equivalent? Dowsing, the ability to use a pendulum to search for a target based on what the user can sense of their spiritual power. The effective distance of the spell depends on the strength of the target's spiritual power. Although she is supposed to be in the care of the Paranormal Affairs Bureau, a confidential Japanese institute during her time in Japan, Circe has been spending more time traveling around the country sightseeing than working through her training curriculum. The supervisor in charge of her training has all but given up on trying to manage her as a result, resolving to keep an eye on her but otherwise not interfere. As such, she's afforded a relatively high level of freedom. Oh, Circe is an ardent fan of Mio Kurosuzu, a girl with potent spirit sense and her senior in the industry in Japan. She harbors both strong admiration and strong feelings of rivalry towards her in equal measure, and it is not uncommon for her to end up a babbling mess when the topic turns to the other girl. She treasures the photograph she has taken with Mio upon first meeting her in Tokyo and keeps it with her at all times. Finally, they mentioned someone else from the first game, and I guess they mentioned Tetsuo too. Wait, but when they first... Remember in the first game when Mio was doing the Ouija board? And Yako was like, who does Mio have a crush on? And she was getting all embarrassed and they couldn't figure it out. What if it's Circe? Now, I also mentioned in my playthrough of Paranormasight 1 at the very end that I found out that of all the characters in Paranormasight 1, one character was the only one that had their own separate Wikipedia article, and that was Harway. Turns out that she's not the only one. Actually, Mio also has a profile on Wikipedia as well, strangely enough, even though she's not a playable character. I just didn't realize it because I didn't read down far enough the article, because I wasn't trying to spoil myself at the time, and Harway's name came up first because she's one of the playable characters, and then the secondary characters come up later. I correct this in the YouTube comments of that video, by the way. But yeah, so Mio and Harway have their own Wikipedia articles, which is very interesting, considering that they're not who I would consider the main protagonists of that game, but they had enough information to give them a full-on Wikipedia article. But then again, I don't know who started the article, so maybe it's just a fan of the series that wanted to give them... I don't know. Kawage Town might be located right next to Mie Prefecture's modern city, Tsu City. There's something you have to keep in mind. This is also the birthplace of the Heiki, a branch of the Heian period's preeminent Taira clan. If you're going to talk about Issei Province, then you absolutely have to mention the Heike. I do have a passing understanding of the topic. The Heike took part in the Genpei War, correct? That's right. That was the war in the Heian period, where two great samurai families, the Minamoto and the Taira, locked horns and really got into it. Among the Heike, Taira no Kiyomori was a particularly famous figure, who appears in many creative works concerning the event. His father, Taira no Tadamori, was the one responsible for securing the Heike's high social standing. Ah, so Tadamori was Kiyomori's father, right? With names like that, how could anyone hope to keep them straight? That's history for you. I'm afraid you just have to memorize them. I suppose you're right about that. Then memorize them I shall. Apparently Tadamori was born in Tsu City in a place called Ubushina. Ah, so that's why they call this area the birthplace of the Heike. I love how they're both, like, Japanophiles. Also, I feel like I made the right call doing the stories in order from top to bottom. I feel like doing Yumiko's story before Avi's story makes more sense. Considering that she's officially working for Paranormal Affairs, and these guys are not working for them, but they're acquainted with them. But they're kind of off doing their own thing. Also, I think that makes the twist of her being the one to bind them in place back at the other story kind of more fun. And because they've already talked about some of the lore here that we need to know. This is the metropolitan center of Mie and a locus of historical events. I guess that makes it the perfect place to start a new journey. Getting back to those mermaids you mentioned, what became of the three that were caught in the fishing nets? At that time, the lord of the area was Taira no Tadamori. You didn't already forget him, did you? Well, the fisherman thought the mermaids were a fascinating find, so he placed two of them into boxes and presented them to Tadamori. Oh, Lord Tadamori must have been well pleased by that. How could he not be? It was known that eating the flesh of a mermaid grants eternal life. Actually, Tadamori evidently said they were disturbing and gross, and refused to accept them. Ah, what a waste. However, the fisherman cut up the remaining mermaid and ate it himself. So, what happened to him? Well, the fisherman said it was pretty tasty. Well now, tasty is it? And that's all I got. That's it? That's all I could find in existing records. Then the act of eating a mermaid's flesh alone may not produce any results. I suppose then there may be other requisite conditions, wouldn't you say? Well, considering the sheer number of eyewitness reports concerning mermaids, it is odd there aren't more immortals walking around. There don't seem to be any records about what happened to the mermaids that Tadamori refused to accept. I suppose it's possible someone in the Heike clan snuck off with them. Now that's a hypothesis I can get behind. I put together an assortment of files concerning the Heike, so feel free to take a look if you're interested. You have my heartfelt gratitude. I will skim these and not read them all out loud. Oh, there's one thing I should warn you about, though. Oh? This group sometimes gets referred to as Issei Taira as well, which might make things a little too confusing. I'll go ahead and label it all as Heiki. Does it really matter? Aren't they basically the same thing? Not exactly. You see, the term Issei Taira refers to the Taira clan as a whole, because it originated in Issei. On the other hand, people generally refer to the family within the clan that included Tadamori and Kiyomori as simply the Heiki. Their family features prominently in the stories we're interested in, so I'll use Heike most of the time. Plus it has a nice ring to it. Either way works for me, so do as you like. The tale of Heike. Also use Heike. You're awfully particular about this, but I'd rather like this kind of fastidiousness. Anyway, after a number of events, the Heike would go on to lose the Battle of Dan no Ura and be completely eradicated. Ah, I believe I know this one. Dan no Ura is found in Kyushu, is it not? Bingo, the clan was chased out of Kyoto and pushed further and further west until they were eventually wiped out there. It pains me to think of such resplendently glorious clan meeting at such an ignominious end. More's the pity. That's why the Heiki's resentment is particularly strong, and many remnants of it remain even today. Shrines and monuments have been erected throughout the land in an attempt to quell that resentment. Ah, now we reach your particular field of expertise. Because the clan fell from such an exalted position so abruptly, that resentment is exceptionally persistent and quite pervasive. That said, famous places related to people like Taira no Kiyomori are well attended by worshippers, so they're relatively stable. It's the puffed up and pretentious Heiki clan members that no one remembers who cause the most trouble. I seem to recall a number of individuals going so far as to claim that those outside the Heiki clan could not be considered human. But if that's the case, are we really safe here? You don't think we might find ourselves assailed by those lingering grudges? Much of the Issei province is protected by shrines, and the area is suffused with spiritual energy, so we're probably safer here than most places. But that's just the land itself. Objects or people that resentment has seeped into are a different story altogether. That's somewhat troubling to hear. Well, either way you look at it, this region is still home to many places and things associated with the Heiki. Excellent, I believe I've gotten a grasp of the situation at hand. It's time we made our way to the next locale. We're on the clock, after all. Let's get to it. Ano Town, Kusawa. Well, it would appear we've arrived. And where are we now, Circe? This is an area in Ano Town known as Kusawa. Kusawa is quite famous because of the Yao Bikuni legend. I'd be surprised if there's anyone who hasn't heard of it. I'm sorry to say I've never heard of it. Wait, really? Come now, don't act so shocked. You can't expect me to know every little detail. Besides, I'm not even from this country. The very reason I requested you to be my guide was so you could teach me about things like this. I guess that's true. Okay, I understand. I'll be counting on your explanations. Ah, the fabled beauty of the serene Japanese countryside. It really is charming. Oh yes, the incessant chirping of locusts combined with unrelenting heat. This is Japanese summer, all right. It's fascinating to think such a peaceful place could be home to such profound historical events. I'm practically jittering with excitement. I can see that. Let's try to keep a cool head, shall we? What's down there? Some sort of shrine? This shrine is apparently dedicated to Sugawara no Michizane. We should go pay our respects before we leave. Aha! Little Blue. As far as the girl's concerned, I suppose I could be considered a guardian of sorts. Even so, I often find myself caught up in her pace and completely thrown off guard. If anyone should be shaking things up around here, it ought to be me. If Yao Bikuni really did exist, I wonder what sort of life she led. I can't begin to imagine what it'd be like to live for hundreds of years. The legend of Yao Bikuni originated here in Kusawa, Ano Town. Long, long ago, a 17-year-old girl named Osato lived in this village. She unknowingly ingested the meat of a mermaid that was served during a village gathering and became immortal. After subsequently being persecuted by the other villagers, she became a nun and made a pilgrimage across the entire country. So this is Sato's old life. At the end of the story, she eventually returned to the village and lived out the rest of her very long life. Tales told in other parts of the country play out almost exactly the same fashion. Yes, I guess that's true. Once upon a time, a beautiful girl by the name of Osato lived in Kusawa village. One day, when Osato was 17, the flesh of a mermaid was served at a village gathering. The other villagers, disturbed at the thought of eating such a strange creature, refused to eat it, but Osato unknowingly ate the mermaid's flesh. From that moment on, Osato didn't age a day. Shunned by the other villagers and treated as a monster, she was eventually forced to leave the village. Becoming a nun, Osato traveled the length and breadth of Japan for hundreds of years, before eventually returning to Kusawa village, where her long life at last came to an end. The legend of Yao Bikuni, the girl who ate the flesh of a mermaid and lived for 800 years, has been passed down all over Japan. Not only here in Mie Prefecture's Ano town, but in Fukui, Aichi, and Gifu prefectures as well. In total, the story has been found in 121 locations in 28 prefectures throughout the country, or at least that's what certain research has indicated. Doesn't that seem like a lot? Were there really that many different Yao Bikunis out there? Obviously not. Obviously not all the legends can be true. But I actually have a theory on the subject. Would you like to hear it? By all means. Most of the legends refer to a woman who stopped aging and lived for 800 years after consuming the meat of a mermaid. At that point, because the others would find it strange that she wasn't getting any older, she wasn't able to live in normal society anymore. I suppose that would be natural. It would explain why she withdrew from the world and became a nun. Exactly, and that's how she got the name Yao Bikuni, the 800-year-old Bikuni nun. With 800 years on her hand, she could have easily made a pilgrimage across the entire country. How interesting! Buddhist priests are known for trekking throughout the land as a form of ascetic training. And if we consider the 121 locations where the legend was found, with 800 years to spare, she could have spent 6 years in each location. 6 years would certainly be enough time for her to make a name for herself in each and every location, right? Oh, my dear, I believe I see what you're getting at. Your theory posits that the stories of Yao Bikuni that have been passed down in every corner of the country all refer to the exact same individual. Well, it might be a bit much to say all of them are the same. There may have been a few different people. It's more convincing than the theory that there were 121 people. I also think that Yao Bikuni of Wakasa province is the most likely origin of the legend. I wonder. Don't all the different instances of the story throughout Japan also claim that particular location as their place of final rest? That may be true, but I assume that each of those different places wanted to have a grave or some other tangible marker to base the legend on. But with so many people that are purported to have lived for 800 years all die at around the same time, it seems pretty unlikely. Then you believe some of the tales are embellished somewhat. That sort of thing happens all the time. Legends are always mixtures of truth and fantasy. Moreover, it doesn't make sense that every single immortal would decide to become a nun. There were likely some places that simply believed Yao Bikuni was a term for an immortal. Rather than a nun, for all we know, she said, "I'ma be none of that," and became an Amma diver. He's trying to make a pun. I'ma be none of that. Badumts. That's actually pretty insightful. Many legends are based on simple semantic misunderstandings. No, wait just a minute. I won't stand here and let my dumb joke actually become a salient point of discussion. Let's drop it then. But still, if one were to somehow live for 800 years, a person that became immortal after the Kamakura period could still be alive today. True, and if so, I'd love to sit them down for a long chat. Can Kusawa's legend of Yao Bikuni really be true? There must be falsehoods and fictions mixed into the tale, surely. Who knows? Issei province isn't that far from Wakasa province after all. She may have simply walked here from there. The fact that the stories from each different area are so similar does make me wonder if they didn't get mixed together somehow. Ah, you think the legend may be an amalgamation of stories from various locations? Exactly. But then again... The immortal in the story from this location has her own name, which gives the legend a certain verisimilitude. Indeed it does. I guess we could assume that a girl with that name really did live here long ago. Then something must have happened to make people believe she became immortal. It's reasonable to assume her story then got mixed with various legends of Yao Bikuni from around the country before being passed down. Of course, the exact timing of these events are still unclear, but that does present an interesting possibility. She could very well be living in this village, or be still living in this village. Would that be a compelling development? Leave it to an occult writer to think up something like that. That's right! You're seeing the prodigious imaginative form of a fantasy author in action! Aru, welcome to the stream! Thank you so much for stopping by. It's great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Please go check out our friend Arudorin3, or Arudorin-san, the ninja dog trainer from Neo Tokyo. He's a really cool VTuber. He has all sorts of different outfits, one for every occasion. Very, very awesome. He plays all sorts of different games. If you like games I play, you'll enjoy games he plays too. Follow him on all social media. Thanks for dropping by, Aru. Hope you had a good time. Are you enjoying Grand Blue Fantasy Relink? Last time I checked, you were enjoying the game. I'm Kiro, the frog-themed martial artist for playing Paranormasight, the Mermaid's Curse. Feel free to sit back and relax. Or go take care of yourself after your stream. I appreciate you being here. Yes, it's really something. Oh, you beat the base main story. That's fantastic. But the fact of the matter is that almost no traces of Yao Bikuni remain in this village. Even her grave, which is referred to as Lady Yao's tomb, has never been located. But then, did we come all this way for nothing? Press the wrong thing. Well, it might not have been a direct connection, but there is something one should always consider when discussing Issei. The Tales of Issei. Have you heard of it? It's the oldest extent of collection of Japanese verse compiled sometime during the Heian period. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with it. But I have heard of the Tale of Genji and the Tale of Heiki. Is it anything like those? Well, those are also stories written during the Heian period, but that's where the similarities end. Nice try, though. Well, they sound similar enough anyway. Don't worry, I'm not an expert on the subject either. Basically, this collection of verse elaborates on a number of waka poems by giving accounts of the events surrounding each one. The entire collection of 125 passages is referred to as the Tales of Issei. That's easy enough to remember, no? The Tales of Issei is a collection of short stories. Check. Ah, one more thing. The title might be The Tales of Issei, but the content isn't all focused on the actual area. What's this now? Are they intentionally attempting to confuse and bewilder us? Some believe the title comes from the fact that passage 69 is set in Issei province. At any rate, I just thought I should bring it up because it does have at least a slight bearing on the topic at hand. If you're keen to learn more, I'll add more detailed information to the files. Why, thank you. I'll be sure to read through them later. I like how of all the 4 protagonist stories, this storyline is the one with the most, Japanese folklore lore dump, and it's from the 2 foreigners. Do I want to read all this? This is a lot. I'll just scroll through it. I'll also hide my model this time so you can actually read more of it. If you want to pause the video on YouTube later, you can read them. There's one other thing we can learn from the Tales of Issei. Adding the Tale of to a book title really classes things up. You should keep it in mind. You know the Tales of RPG series? That's apparently all the rage during the Heian period. Oh, I couldn't agree more. My next work is certainly going to be a tale of. Well then, I suppose that brings this particular subject to a close. On to the next. No rest for the wicked, I say. Time to tackle the next mermaid myth. Sure. They're just lore dumping all this. Okay, finally, we're going to the location that Yumeko was at. Here we find our next subject of inquiry. What place might this be, my dear? This is Futamigora, the coastline that lies beyond Futami town. It's just over from Issei City. Ah, then we finally penetrated the outskirts of Issei City proper. Things are certainly beginning to heat up. I inferred that Issei City was the prefectural capital from the fact that Mie Prefecture was once known as Issei Province. Not bad, eh? Well, I can understand how you would arrive at that conclusion. The truth is, Mie Prefecture is composed of 4 separate provinces: Issei, Shiba, Iga, and Ki. Ah, is it so? That doesn't change the fact that Issei City is regarded as the spiritual capital of Japan, making it a very important location. Very interesting, but the sun has already begun its steady descent, so perhaps we should pick up the pace a little. Futami Gora's sea is famously said to purify the body, so many visitors to Ise Shrine come here as well. The scenic beauty of the location has been featured in poems from antiquity. It certainly is easy on the eyes. The strands of pine trees along shore make for quite the striking image. To make it even better, the embankment we're standing on offers a 360-degree view of Ise Bay. It makes you want to get out on the very edge to take it all in. It really does. Being surrounded by the bay like this is such an enchanting feeling. What a breathtaking view. Okay, I already found a bird here earlier with soda, so Sodo. As far as the girl's concerned, I suppose I could be considered a guardian of sorts. I've already read this text out loud because it was the same one from the previous area. Of course, I have my own reasons for trying to locate the mythical creatures. Oh, so does this place have any legends featuring mermaids? It does. A record called the Kagenki was written by people at Horyuji Temple after the Kamakura period. In that record, there are a total of 6 instances of information concerning mermaids. 6, eh? That's certainly promising. One of those entries describes a sighting here in Futami, Ise province on April 3rd during the second year of the Enbun era, which would be 1357. So they even noted the exact date. How fortuitous. The passage is as follows. From the sea of Futami in Ise province came Enmeiju, delivering perpetuity. What exactly does that mean? My guess is that a mermaid was spotted in the sea by Futami, and it was named Enmeiju, meaning health and long life, because it granted longevity. Aha! It granted longevity, did it? Finally, we're getting to the good stuff. Yes, it's another account relating mermaids to Yao Bikuni. It seems the idea of mermaids granting immortality has already been established at the time. Indeed, and now we have a name. You know, the previous game also had like Japanese myth and folklore embedded within it, but then it also had a lot of original folklore like the Seven Mysteries of Honjo, which was fictitious and made up for that game. So it was interesting learning about the Seven Mysteries because they were directly related to the story. And I skipped over like more of the extraneous information that was already existing real Japanese folklore that we didn't really need to know all the information for. But this game has so much more Japanese folklore that is actually like actual Japanese folklore embedded within it. And it's not that I'm not interested in it, but it's like we're spending so much time going over all this folklore, even though I know that only like select parts of it are actually relevant to the story. It's great for people that are interested in this kind of thing, but I don't know. All this talk of mermaids, I'm kind of losing my interest in all the mermaid lore. Because I'm not particularly invested in mermaids, per se. So what sort of mermaid was this, and what became of it? No clue. Again with the vague records, these people write down the appearance of some fantastical creature and then just let it wander off. I haven't personally got over every bit of research on the matter, but I can speculate on an answer. Records of mermaids in other places also refer to them by name. In fact, it may not have been all that uncommon for people in the area to encounter them when these records were written. Ah, let me see if I follow your meaning. The same mermaid would appear repeatedly, leading people in the area to grow accustomed to it. Am I right on track? Exactly. I mean, you wouldn't bother giving a name to something you only saw once after all. These people may have come to have a kind of rapport with the mermaids. At the very least, it doesn't appear as though they were trying to capture any. Mermaids that people didn't want to capture. Then they weren't seeking its flesh. Perhaps it was a way of obtaining immortality even without the meat. Maybe mermaid meat really was just tasty and nothing more. And if that was the case, it makes perfect sense they would view the mermaid as a divine creature. So they treat it as an auspicious being that blessed others with a long life. You may be on to something there. However, I would say that because they include a lot of real Japanese folklore in this game, and I'm assuming it's all mostly correct, like they've really done the research on locations and the myths and the folklore, which I applaud them for. This makes me think of that theory you mentioned about how there might be 2 kinds of mermaids. Oh, you remembered. I stand by my theory. There is the fish mermaid, which looks a lot like an aquatic monster or beastie. And the human mermaid, which resembles a demi-human or nymph. Indeed. That's the simplest way to describe it anyhow. Assuming the mermaid in question had a name, formed relationships with humans, and granted longevity, it stands to reason it was of the human mermaid variety. You have a point. The mermaids we encountered thus far all have been caught in nets and appear to be more fish mermaids. It seems more likely then that the mermaids who grant longevity are actually those human mermaids. Interesting. That in turn would suggest... My word! Would this mean that one could become immortal without eating their flesh? I'm not sure. There are countless legends that reference the need to consume their flesh. But I can't help but feel there's more to it. If human mermaids are capable of communicating with us, I'd really like to speak to one. Agreed. Speaking of which, this is entirely unrelated, but there's something I've been wondering. Do you mind? What? But our conversation was just getting good. Protest all you like, but I shall ask away. On our way here, I noticed a certain something adorning the entrance to everyone's houses. What was that? Oh, right. Those are Somen Shorai talismans. Somen Shorai? Yes, although in most of Japan, they're usually only hung up around New Year, but here in the Ise Toba Shima region, they're traditionally left up all year round. Interesting. I can add more detailed information on the files for you later. I'll add all the extraneous information we don't actually need in the story here. What is it? What is it? Now you're making me antsy. Can something interesting finally happen in the story? Or like this chapter of the story? Come now, Circe, you realize something about this Somen Shorai, did you? You must share. No, nothing like that. It just made me think about how close this area is to the eternal world. Is it? What does that mean? You'd already know of this from the files. I hope you've been reading the game files that we've been giving you. But regarding the Somen Shorai, its origin goes back to a legend about the deity Gozu Tenno, which was courting the princess of Ryugu. Ryugu, you'd say? That's right, Ryugu is close to this place. In other words, that place is very close to the eternal world. Yes, and furthermore, Gozu Tenno was also the guardian deity of the Gion Shoja Temple. The very same Gion Shoja who gets mentioned in our very good old friend, That Tale of Heiki. So it is. What was it again? From the bells of the Gion Shoujo echoes out the impermanence of all things, right? It sounds so cool I even memorized it. Haven't got a clue what it means though. Yes, that's the one. As for its meaning, you can look it up yourself. Fine. So what you're saying is, Isashima is a land with deep ties to both Ryugu and the Heiki. And that is exactly why the Somen Shorai tradition is so well established here. Ah, that reminds me. There's something about Ryugu's princess that keeps bothering me as well. She certainly is mysterious, That reminds me about Futami Gora. Oh, we've been standing here till night. Dear me, how time flies when listening to your lectures, Circe. The sun has already gone down. I suppose I got carried away. Sorry. Well, if that results in such a lovely view of the sea at night, I'll not complain. You're right, just look at those stars. Ah. Stars speckle the sky as far as the eye can see. Not bad at all. Dear me, I dragged her around all day long, didn't I? Or perhaps I should say I had her drag me around all day. As her guardian for the time being, I suppose I ought to have just retired earlier. Though Circe herself seems to have limitless reserves of energy. But look, the heavens are entirely enveloped in a shower of dazzling pinpricks of light. What a sight to behold. Would you happen to be versed in constellations, Circe? Or would you happen to be versed in constellations, Circe? Well, I dabbled a bit in astrology, so I guess I know a thing or two. Excellent, do tell. Oh, but we really let time get away from us. Look at how dark it's gotten. Without the light from the stars above, we'd be lost in pitch darkness. Well, if we consider the constellations you can see in Japan during summer, the first one that comes to mind is the Summer Triangle. It's an easy one to find. Triangle, eh? Then I presume it's made of 3 stars. Correct. Vega in the constellation Lyra, Deneb in the constellation Cygnus, and Altair in the constellation Aquila. This trio of bright stars can be observed close to the Milky Way in this season. What? I want to see. How do we go about identifying them? Well, first, low in the southwestern portion of the sky, look for a star that glows red, Antares of the Scorpio constellation. Southwest you say. From here, that would be mean facing inland and looking to the right. Okay, try to find a red star low in the sky and point to it. You know, all these games about Japan and folklore and stuff like that, because Japan has so much rich culture and history across all the different areas, and each, like, even tiny section of Japan has its own, like, legends, its own myths, everything. Also because the country is also just so dense. It's hard, it makes me forget sometimes that Japan's actually so small. Like, it's like, what, the size of California or smaller? And then if you compare to, like, you know, I'm from Canada, where Canada's huge, but there's, like, large portions of Canada that have, like, stretches of Canada that have, like, nothing in them, right? So it's like, they make Japan feel so rich and culture diverse in a large place. But then, like, in the grand scheme of geography, it's actually, like, geographically small, and I find that very fascinating. Me, myself, I've only ever been to Tokyo twice. I would like to see more of Japan sometime, but I know that once you get out of the more touristy areas, it's a little harder to navigate if you don't know the language and the culture as well, so it'd be kind of cool. That's true, it's super mountainous and separated by islands as well, so each area gets its own diversity that way too. It's just hard for someone like me to fathom, where I live, you know, in a place where we just have swaths and swaths of nothing. Wait, I do believe I found it. The star just there with the reddish tint. That must be Antares, yes. Correct. That is indeed Antares, the brightest star in the Scorpio constellation. Aha! I found it all by myself. Why, I'd make quite the celestial cartographer if I do say so myself. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're supposed to be looking for a star in the summer triangle, so please try again. Egads, that's right. Why not try looking straight up from Antares? I bet you'll find Vega at the sky's zenith. Give it a shot. I like how Avi is so proud of himself for finding the single red dot in the sky. There's like multiple ones I could look at. There, that must be it. Bingo, that's Vega, one of the 3 stars in the summer triangle. In Japan, Vega is also called the Orihime star, and is famous for its connection to the Tanabata Star Festival. It's also the name of M. Bison in Street Fighter, but then they changed their names around so that Vega became Bison, and Bison became Balrog, and Balrog became Vega. That must mean Hikoboshi will be on the opposite side of the Milky Way from that one. Exactly right. Can you figure out which one it is? One of the other stars in the summer triangle is in the same area, so see if you can find it. Eureka! I spotted it! Oh, that's Altair, one of the 3 stars in the summer triangle. Part of the Aquila constellation, Altair is known in Japan as Hikoboshi for its role in the Tanabata Star Festival. Oh, that means I managed to spot both Orihime and Hikoboshi. It's as if I've drawn the 2 star-crossed lovers together with my own hand. How overjoyed they must be. Yeah, nice work. I didn't expect you to be such a romantic. There's still another star in the summer triangle to find. It might be hard to see because of the angle. Right you are. It is certainly a bit tricky to see something directly above you. It's so weird, the controls for this game of looking left and right get all wibbly wobbly when you start looking directly up. If my eye is as discerning as I believe it to be, that's the one. Oh, nice find. That's Deneb, one of the 3 stars in the Summer Triangle. Deneb lies within the Milky Way, which earns it the nickname Milky Way Star. Ah, it does appear to be swimming nicely along the starry stream. There, I've located all 3 stars of the Summer Triangle. How do you like that? Good work. Now you've mastered the summer skies. Should I start addressing you as Professor? That's me. Feel free to rely on my knowledge. Alright then, tell me, what's another name for the star Hikoboshi? Altair. That's right. Well done, Professor. Oh, I mean, nothing to it. Regardless, we've seen all there is here in Futamigora. I'd go even so far as to call this a wrap. I think that covers all the mermaid legends for the Mie Prefecture, but is there anything else here you're keen to visit, Cersei? What? We haven't even visited Issei Shrine yet. If you ask me, we barely scratched the surface. Ah, you got a point there. But it's getting late, so let's save that for tomorrow, shall we? Alright. The next day. Can we finally get to a part where these two actually do something instead of just stand around and talk about lore? Just do something. Just break up the lore segments or something. Give me lore between sequences of actually doing stuff. Wow, talk about a gorgeous view. It is something, isn't it? This is Mount Asama's observation platform. It overlooks Toba City on one side and Issei City on the other. So that's Toba City over there, eh? What's Toba got going for it? Well, the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Toba is Toba Castle. Built in the Sengoku period by none other than the pirate daimyo, Lord Kuki, who at one time led the Kuki naval fleet. Oh, that's more exciting than I anticipated. As for the Toba Shiba area, it's famous for having the highest population of ama divers in Japan. Aha! I knew there'd be something touristy. What a fantastic blend of culture and history. Apparently, Mount Asama's peak sits at 555 meters above sea level, so it's not that high. But it's situated at the tip of Shima Peninsula. It offers a magnificent view of Toba Bay coastline and the outlying islands. Since we stopped by the shrine this morning, I assume we take the mountain path. All I can say is this place takes my breath away. She's been packed and ready to venture forth since the early hours of the morning, though I myself beat her to the punch, having been all too excited to sleep a wink last night. Ha! I beat you waking up because I didn't sleep. Oh, there's no bird here, really? From what I hear, lots of the inns in Toba are run by ama divers and fishermen. I can't wait to dig into some seafood tonight. First off, you should know the naval troops in the Sengoku period were basically just pirates. Pirates, eh? Yes, they would put together crews of rowdy sailors, arm them to the teeth, and have them patrol a designated area of the sea. They only actually served under their commander as a naval force when there was a battle. So that's what the Navy was like back then, A ragtag bunch of pirates, only called on to do their duty in times of need. Exactly. In fact, such forces only came to be called navies during the Edo period, and that was purely a matter of convenience. As for the Kuki Navy, it was one of the pirate bands patrolling the waters of Issei Bay. A man named Kuki Yoshitaka was its commander, hence the name. He distinguished himself in the service of Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi, eventually rising to the position of daimyo in the Shima province. Now those are names I recognize from Sengoku Basara. That's why they called him the Pirate Daimyo. He started as a lowly pirate, but rose all the way to the top of the chain of command. Did you say Oda Nobunaga? I've heard of him. He was the Demon King of the Sixth Heaven, no? True, but that's a title he gave himself. Still, a pirate and a daimyo, what an enchanting combination. That may be, but he wasn't blessed where allies were concerned. It seems he was always butting heads with his relatives. Oh? For one thing, he may have had his nephew, Sumitaka, assassinated in order to take over the Kuki clan. He also fought on the opposite side to his own son, Moritaka, in the decisive battle of Sekigahara. That's also something from Sengoku Basara I recognize. And in the end, spurred on by his vassals, he committed suicide on Toshijima, the island over there. So while Kuki became daimyo of Shima province, his land was confiscated during his son's rule and the clan fell into decline. Life is truly full of ups and downs. How the mighty do fall. He must have been quite the character. That reminds me, there's another fascinating legend related to the Kuki clan. Oh, do tell. It's about Kuki Yoshitaka's nephew, Sumitaka. He had an extraordinarily beautiful daughter named Princess Hatsune. I dare say I know where this is going. Whenever a legend starts with a beautiful daughter, it inevitably ends in trouble. You're not wrong there. Princess Hatsune was so beautiful she saw no end of suitors, and her father sought to marry her off to achieve his political ends. But the princess already had a lover, so she fought against her father's plans and even ran away several times, only to be brought home. I knew it! Alas, that's what life was like for the daughters of powerful figures in those days. And Vocaloids, I guess. Well, Princess Hatsune lamented her fate. Must I be cursed with such misfortune merely for my beauty? And she didn't stop there. May no beautiful daughter be born to this land again. Such was the curse she left behind before throwing herself down a well. And so ends the legend. Not what I'd call a happy ending. The princess may have had good intentions, but I'm sure no one else felt like she was doing them any favors. Good intentions? That isn't how I interpreted it. Well, what's your take on the story then? When authority figures try to force other people's hands, they bring these curses upon themselves. It's just asking to get cursed. Fair enough. I see your point. Still, the princess did take it a bit far. To me, though, it almost feels like that part was tacked on later. As if someone thought it would make the story more impactful, and that word of it would travel further, the princess killed herself at the end. Oh, if you're right, that would change the story completely. But there's something else that interests me more. Sumitaka became head of the Kuki clan in 1560, but he was so young that Yoshitaka had to be appointed as his guardian. His exact age at the time isn't known, but the common belief is he was about 8 years old. Nothing unusual there. Premature inheritances were a common occurrence in those days. But consider this, when Sumitaka died 24 years later, in 1584 he would have been 32 years old. Yes? Even if we suppose that Princess Hatsune was 15, their ages don't quite add up, do they? Age differences weren't so much of a point of contention back then, but even so, that is a bit odd. Which begs the question, did Princess Hatsune really exist to begin with? And even if she did, was she really Sumitaka's daughter, And Agate Magatama was unearthed at the place where the princess was supposedly buried. But that could easily have been planted there to lend credibility to the tale. Well, once you start doubting, it's hard not to see lies everywhere. True, and the pursuit of the unknown starts with belief, doesn't it? Well said. A certain occult researcher taught me that one. That's what Mio said in the last game. You don't say. How does this all relate to our current tale? It seems like it doesn't, but I'm sure it will come back. Will I remember all this, though? That's a lot of Japanese names that kind of flew over my head. Oh, I just realized something. Kuki Sumitaka died, or was assassinated, exactly 400 years ago. Is that significant? It is. A special spiritual significance is attached to periods of 400 years. For instance, the cycle of death and rebirth supposedly lasts 400 years, and some stories claim that a soul endures for 400 years. Of course, 800-year immortals have twice that lifespan, but as you can see, 400 years is widely considered a good cutoff point. So there's a chance something happens after 400 years? Maybe. In any case, we should probably tread carefully here. It sounds to me as if we're in the right place at the right time. Ama divers have a long history in the Tobashima region. Evidence indicates that free divers have been fishing in the area since ancient times. You don't say. Most notably, it's said that Oben, who once presented an abalone to Yamato Hime no Mikoto, was the very first Ama diver. In fact, there's a shrine dedicated to Oben in Kuzaki that is considered a secret place to Ama divers of the Tobashima region. Is that so? She must have been truly legendary. Moreover, there are several poems in the famous 8th century poetry anthology Manyoshu that depict the Ama diving in Shima province. Ama divers also appear in dozens of ukiyo-e from the Edo period. Clearly there's a popular theme. It's quite incredible to think their method of fishing has not only endured for so long, but has been recorded in such exquisite detail. There is another point worth noting. Ama divers have long been likened to mermaids for their skill and grace. You could even argue that the Ama diver culture that is so deeply rooted in this place is interwoven with the region's mermaid legends. Ah yes, there's a theory that mermaids of Ise Bay were simply Ama divers. It does seem likely there's a connection between the two. I wouldn't be surprised if they were the originators of the legend. Perhaps, but I'd be beyond disappointed if that's all there is to it. Oh, right. By the way, there's another legend surrounding the Ama divers of the Tobashima region, surrounding something called the Tomokazuki. Tomokazuki. It is believed that an Ama diver may encounter a copy of herself underwater, who will then offer her an abalone. If she accepts, the Tomokazuki doppelganger will drag her to the bottom of the sea, never to be seen again. Ah, Cersei, please don't spring scary stories on me out of nowhere. That's why the Ama divers of the area wear the Seimin and Domin symbols on them when they dive. It's a tradition that has continued right up to the present day. There must be some reason for it beyond pure superstition. Interesting. On another note, the Ama divers of the Tobashima region possess such exceptional diving skills that in addition to fishing, they also save people from drowning and fetch objects that have sunk to the sea floor, right up until the Meiji era. Well, it sounds as if they were true diving professionals. Exactly. In fact, after the Heiki were defeated at Dan no Ura and were lost beneath the waves. Oh, we're back to the Heiki already. I wasn't aware there was a connection. Well, after that fateful battle, what do you think they sent to reclaim the legendary sword Kusanagi no Tsurugi from the sea floor? 2 Ama divers. Aha! So the lost and found services were being employed even back then, eh? And while they were diving, they came face to face with vengeful spirits of the drowned Heiki. Cersei, please, you're gonna give me nightmares. At least that's what's depicted in the ukiyo-e entitled, The Western Sea, the diving women encounter the Heiki in the depths of the water. That's a really long title, it's probably directly translated. Such a deep connection. To think the Heiki were even once depicted within Ama divers, they truly are a symbol of the Ise-shima region. Yes, but the setting for the ukiyo-e is Dan no Ura, which isn't anywhere near here. Still, it goes to show that Ama divers have held a deep connection to the sea for a very long time. And when we're talking about the Tobashima region, Ama divers are always going to be key players. True, if you ask me, they should be brought up before the pirates. Mind you, the Navy had a crucial role to play too. Imagine if you played this game, but you were already like a Japanese history buff and you already knew all this, and this entire last hour has just been them spouting myths and legends you were already well aware of. Right, well, as fascinating as all of this has been, Cersei, I'd say it's high time we return to our primary topic of interest here. Oh, and what would that be? Firstly, now we visited Issei Shrine, I'm more or less satisfied. Tut-tut. Cersei, you disappoint me. We didn't come here purely to chase legends, did we? Aw, and here I was hoping we could move on to buying souvenirs next. You know perfectly well the true purpose of my voyage is nothing more or less than a treasure hunt. Right. Of course, I'm sure all this information we've been gathering will come in handy as well. First things first, let's head back to the inn. From there, we can plan our next move. Oh, finally back to the story chart. Oh my god, that took so long. Treasure Hunt Part 1. That implies there's a Treasure Hunt Part 2. That entire section here, like this was like an hour long, made me kind of bored. Like, when we were still doing this part of the story, it was slow, but at least interesting things were happening. Here, at least, like, these events tie into what was directly happening, so it's kind of interesting. But here, it's like, I don't know, I was getting quite tired. Let's keep going. I want at least something to happen. Please, something should happen. After collecting information about mermaids and returning to their inn, Abby and Cersei have a meeting to plan for their true objective, the treasure hunt. Toba City Ryokan guest room. Now then, I believe it's time we discuss our strategy. Sure. What do you mean by strategy? It should be obvious. We must reflect on all we've learned if we want to move forward. This is the Murakubote. It's a small inn located in Toba. It's a laid-back inn that feels more like a private residence than a hotel, thanks to the attentive staff. I could barely count all the different fresh fish we were served for dinner last night. I've not felt so full in a while. This is a poster advertising the island of Kamishima. I'd love to pay a visit to a remote island like that. The name is intriguing too. Ah, Kame means turtle, doesn't it? Kamehameha. It's a poster of Kamishima. I just can't shake this weird feeling. Huh? Why? Is there something wrong with the island or the poster? The poster, I believe. Do you mind if I take a closer look? My hunch was right. There's a presence here. No way, come on, don't scare me like that. Presence? Like behind the actual poster or like behind the picture, like symbolically? It may resemble an L-shaped dividing screen, but I think this is actually a towel rack. You're close, it's a small clothes rack. I see, so that's what it is. Yes, normally it's used to hang kimonos, but this one is quite small, so I suppose it'd work well for towels and other small garments. You're quite knowledgeable. I like how this is just called atmospheric lighting. Extra lights for the room. A lot of attention was paid to create a comfortable atmosphere for the guests. My bag, a faithful travel companion of several decades. Some of the notes I've taken, the information in them is not substantive and likely of no use. Cersei, do you see any birds around here? Light is passing through the windows. It's hot outside, so I'll leave them closed. Dried flowers. I suppose this is the embodiment of the Japanese concept wabi-wabi, or however you say it. He's talking about wabi-sabi? Apparently, wabi-sabi's been going around as a TikTok word, and a lot of young people now are just, like, throwing it out there. I'm not really sure what they mean when they say wabi-sabi. I think they mean, like vibes, I guess. But wabi-sabi's an actual thing. Like, it's like a Japanese concept that also has something to do with their tea ceremonies and stuff. I only know about it because of, again, Sengoku Basara. But yeah, it's like, apparently TikTok has made it into the new TikTok word or something like that. Kind of like how 6-7 came out of nowhere and other weird things. A hanging scroll perfectly complements the tatami room. This room may not have a dedicated alcove, but the scroll still ties the room together. How lovely. Each room is equipped with a mosquito trap. They tend to come in through the windows on hot days. It's a neat contraption. You have to plug it in and place it, and it will kill any nearby mosquitoes. Traps like these are reliable, as well as easier and safer than the combustible type, so they've gotten quite popular. This phone can only be used to call the front desk. Outside calls are impossible. No birds? Unless there's one behind the poster she's about to show me. I was sure there'd be one in here. The door to our room. Outside is a hallway with a restroom and a wash basin for communal use. Guests place their shoes in the cubbies at the entrance and wear slippers while inside the inn. They don't adjust the mirror here. Remove the poster? Ready?
Yes, please proceed.
You sure? Because I'll do it. I really will. There's no telling what may happen.
Quit stalling.
Aha!
Ah!
I like how this one has a fish in its mouth. I also like how they have like the background is like a gradient, but it looks like the Photoshop background that tells you something's transparent. Dawn Heron. I worried yesterday that Circe might struggle to sleep on just a futon in a tatami room like this, but she looks well rested, so I suppose she's used to it. I, on the other hand, was too excited to get sleep. Okay, good. I don't have to examine every single thing on the table. A porcelain ashtray that came with the room. Ashtrays like these are found just about anywhere, so one can smoke without worries. That being said, I noticed people outside still simply dropping their cigarettes on the ground. Well, I wasn't a smoker to begin with. This is a sketch of the mermaid mummy I found in our family storage. Bringing it along would have been out of the question, so I settled on just bringing a sketch. Oh, that's right. I still haven't told Circe why I'm searching for mermaids.
This map looks quite old.
Exactly. It also is the precise reason I've come to Mie. To put it simply, this is no ordinary map. This is a mermaid treasure map.
A mermaid treasure map?
Allow me to explain. I found this mermaid treasure map in the family storage. I should explain it to Circe.
Oh, is this a business card from the guy we met earlier?
It is. We managed to glean some surprisingly good information from that exchange. Oh, flashback, okay. First things first, let's head back to the inn. From there, we can plan our next move. Pardon me, but would the lovely lady and handsome gentleman be willing to spare me a moment? Oh, why yes, the gentleman does have some time.
I suppose that makes me the lady, then. Oh, it's you. You've been following us for quite some time.
Huh? He has? For how long?
Since the Issei Grand Shrine, I believe.
Truly. Maybe you could try to keep me apprised of things like this in the future, Circe. It appears I wasn't as stealthy as I thought. My apologies for the indiscretion. Yeah, this guy's hiking up through the mountains in a suit. But you see, the two of you piqued my interest. Foreigners in Issei Bay searching for mermaids. Ugh! Ah, you overheard everything. How embarrassing.
Abby, hollering won't lessen the embarrassment.
But how rude of me. I ought to introduce myself. Hmm?
I'm an event planner here at Issei City. My name is Kipe Ikoma. Wait. But Kipe Ikoma died 6 years ago. And I don't think this takes place 6 years ago. Oh, a fancy business card and everything. What a charming fellow. Let's see.
Sala planning, eh? And it says here you're the CEO. Huh, I'm actually the only employee, so the title doesn't mean much. I see. I apologize for the rudeness, but I actually just ran out of business cards of my own.
Do you ever have any?
I heard you need to carry business cards in Japan if you want to avoid looking suspicious, but I still forgot to bring any. But the freewheeling and forgetful man before you goes by the name of Arnav Barnum, a fantasy author who is merely passing through. Do you believe me, or am I too suspicious? Without a business card for proof, the verdict is yours alone to make. So you're an author, Mr. Barnum. Please call me Abby. See, the thing about, like, nicknames like Abby, because, like, his name's Arnav, so Abby doesn't flow directly from Arnav. Like, yes, it has the same letters, but it's not like if he said his name was Arnav, and he said call me Arn, or Arnie, that would make sense. But Abby doesn't feel like it flows from it. Should have made his nickname Arnie. This is Circe. She has studied more Japanese history than even the average Japanese citizen.
It's a pleasure. If you'd like, I can list the top 100 of Issei's best featured at any time.
Ah, aren't you a delight? I was right to take an interest in you two. So that picture of him I have is from him 6 years ago with the long hair. Or the sketch, rather. Kippei Ikoma. Event Services Company CEO, 26 years old, male. Director of Sala Planning, a venture company primarily focused on planning and producing tourism promotion events in Ise City. An ambitious young man, Kippei is both highly driven and extraordinarily tenacious when it comes to fulfilling his goals. He's currently planning a PR project themed on mermaids as a sightseeing attraction. About 6 years ago, with the support of wealthy tycoon Yoshiatsu Yamashina, Kippei moved to Ise from the countryside with nothing but the clothes on his back and an eye to making his fortune. So Yamashina was lying when he said he'd never seen that picture before. This aggressiveness won him Yamashina's favor, and after several years spent building up experience as his assistant, the tycoon granted Kippei an investment with which he started his own current company. Although Yamashina could be said to be particularly strict with him, this is a reflection of the high expectations he has for his future. Kippei is often told he looks old for his age, but as this means he is not taken lightly when doing business, he sees it as an advantage. Again, I think it's good that we did Yumiko's story first then, because I think it's like, having his name come up and then meeting him and being surprised he's not dead is a better twist than seeing him here and then going back and then finding his corpse from 6 years ago. Forgive me for my bluntness, but would you mind sparing me a few moments? I'd love to talk a little longer. I suppose that could be arranged. Gusts of wind graze this lovely observation deck. I thought she was totally absorbed in our sightseeing, yet she noticed we were being tailed. Impressive, if I do say so myself. What do you think, Cersei? He looks like a scammer who targets foreign tourists. Ah, quite the blunt one, aren't you, young lady? I'm not sure if I should trust him. Entertaining a weirdo might prove to be a pain. That said, it seems he's also interested in mermaids. Perhaps we can get some information out of him. So this young man is actually a CEO, though I'm not sure if I'd call him young. His gaze has a piercing quality to it, and there is something off about his smile. Everything about him feels older than he looks. Yeah, entertaining a weirdo. Avi, you're the weirdo. I believe those oversized suits known as soft suits are currently quite popular in Japan. Perhaps he's trying to be taken seriously as a CEO. He certainly is putting a lot of effort into his appearance. The truth is, I'm currently planning a promotional tourism campaign for the Ise-shima region. I was thinking of using mermaid legends as the centerpiece of the campaign. Mermaids, huh? I'm sure you're already quite aware of the mermaid legends of Ise Bay, yes? I thought we could hold events and exhibitions centered around such legends to attract tourists. I see, so that's why you're interested in mermaids. Additionally, the Ise-shima region is also famous for its pearls. I believe mermaids and pearls naturally complement one another. True. There is also the famous legend that a mermaid's tear turns into pearls when they're washed away by the ocean. Oh ho! Such a story would do wonders for driving tourism to the area. Does this project mean you're knowledgeable about mermaids in Ise then, Mr. Ikoma? I suppose it does. I know a fair bit. For example, there are some mermaid legends that most people have never heard of. Oh, do share. A long time ago, there was an island south of Kamishima known as Taishima. Have you heard of it? It's not like we've talked about it in 3 other storylines now. I'm afraid I haven't. It rings a bell. It was also called Taishima by some. That's absolutely right. It's also said that once upon a time, 3 mermaids lived on Taishima. Wow, 3 of them! Tell me, were they human mermaids or fish mermaids? Human mermaids? Well, I suppose their upper bodies are human, so I suppose you could describe them as such. I see! That would separate them from the 3 mermaids discovered in Betsuho during the Heian period. Oh, this is the first I've heard of this tale. However, Taishima sunk about 400 years ago during a natural disaster. The mermaids seem to have vanished after that. I wonder if Ikoma is also the guy that, Tsukasa's dad wants to inherit his company then, and not Kikuku. What? That's such a shame! Regardless, it is said 3 mermaids were named Sobe, Nagame, in Hayase. So the mermaids were named too, huh? That definitely adds to the authenticity of the story.
Pardon me, Mr. Ikoma. I never came across such concrete information. Where did you learn this?
I don't blame you for questioning my sources. I also haven't managed to find any records of this tale. You see, the story was passed down through word of mouth. As it turns out, there was a single man who managed to escape the island's destruction. His descendants have kept the legend alive. So that must be, Soto. Aha! So it's one of those descendants you heard the story from. That's right, they live a modest private life these days.
When the story comes straight from a descendant like that, it does lend it some credibility.
I would love to inquire deeper about these Taishima mermaids. If you don't mind, could you share the identity of the descendant you speak of? My apologies, but I'm afraid I cannot oblige. Oh, they're talking about, Mare. She is not the friendliest sort. Frankly, even I have trouble getting her to open up. No matter how many times I visit her, I always feel like I'm only getting part of the story. I see, that's a real shame. Now, this may not be much consolation. I have another interesting rumor from this descendant to share. Oh, I'm all ears. It concerns one of the rumored Taishima mermaids. It is said that a few decades ago, one of those mermaids turned human and now lives among us. No kidding!
She became human.
It does ring a bell, though. Why, that is exactly the story of the Little Mermaid. What an exciting discovery.
You say this was only a few decades ago. That makes it quite recent. This former mermaid could even be walking among the people here as we speak.
If the story is true, yes. But then, if that's the case, the story is talking about Mare, but it sounds like he got the story from Mare. However, I'll concede even I find the story hard to believe. It is a little fantastical. By the way, may I ask why you're searching for the Issei Bay's mermaids, Avi? No particular reason, I just thought it'd be fun to wander through some sightseeing areas related to the mermaid folklore. That's all. I see. Well, since you traveled all the way to Japan to sightsee, I'd love to ask you some questions. Was there anything missing from the areas you visited that you might have made your trip more enjoyable? What about those photo spots you put your face in?
I know those. I love those.
Really? Are they that interesting? They're a Japanese tourism classic. It'd be nice to see more of them.
Agreed. If I saw one, I would certainly take a photo with it. Oh, and please sell more of those little pennant flags. I can't resist them.
I see. I truly appreciate the input, but perhaps things are fine as they are. Should you discover anything new regarding the area's mermaids, please let me know. Understood. We hope you'll do the same for us. If there really were mermaids on Taishima 400 years ago, then that could provide us a valuable new information. Amazing, a brand new mermaid legend.
The real question is why?
Why?
There's a long history of people making up legends to drive tourism. Such stories linger on despite their veracity being entirely unverifiable.
I suppose. Is something the matter?
It's nothing.
It's nothing. Well, it's about time for us to get going. Yes, of course, thank you. And I apologize again for taking so much of your time. Actually, since you've gone all the way to Japan... If anything happens to you during your vacation here, or you need any other help at all, please feel free to give me a call. I'm quite familiar with all sorts of businesses in the area. For example, I could put you in touch with someone should you be looking to interview AMA divers. Oh really? That's very kind. You're not just saying it as a formality, are you? A free-spirited lad like myself would not hesitate to take you up on an offer like this. I will call you. This is a threat. Please do not hold back. I'll leave you two to your sightseeing. Please have a good time. If mermaids really did live on Taishima, it's certainly worth investigating. It's Ikoma's business card. He's the CEO of an event planning company we ran into earlier. I found this map in the old family storage. It was left behind by my great-grandmother. If she's your great-grandmother, that would make her my great-grandmother's sister. I heard she was exiled from the Lunar Light family because of her eccentricities.
That's correct. She was quite fond of the occult and amassed a number of suspicious curios over her lifetime. As a child, I loved searching through the storehouse that housed her collection. It was like a treasure hunt of wonders. A demon's tail, a yeti's bone, a book of black magic, Ogopogo's tooth, a piece of a UFO, a crystal skull. These are all things Indiana Jones would love. I cannot vouch that any of it was authentic, but it was still so exciting to look through. It's no exaggeration when I say this very storehouse is what led me down the path of becoming a fantasy author.
I suppose that's the kind of formative experience an occult writer needs.
Just so, I have to thank my great-grandmother. She's the reason I could put food on the table. And among the items in that collection was this.
I see. A mermaid mummy.
Precisely, they were rather prevalent at sideshows and the like all over the world in the 19th century. Mermaid mummies from Japan were quite popular because of their high quality. A number of them even made their way to Europe.
Huh.
This one probably made its way to the family storage around that time. It was probably passed from one seller to another until it ended up in my great-grandmother's hands.
How are you so sure it was made in Japan?
Well, you see, I gave this mummy a thorough investigation. I even took it apart. Sure enough, it was made of wood and paper clay. But lo and behold, I also found this map inside.
Truly, you found the map inside a mummy.
Whoever made it all those years ago must have snuck the map inside. I doubt my great-grandmother had the slightest idea it was even in there.
That's an incredible discovery.
It is simply tantalizing, is it not? There is not a doubt in my mind it will lead to most thrilling discovery.
So then why'd you call this a mermaid treasure map?
Well, it's hidden inside a mermaid mummy, so it follows it must be a treasure map of sorts, no?
I see. Your enthusiasm has carried you quite a ways from home. I'm impressed.
Thank you. I have no doubt our treasure lies somewhere in Issei Bay.
What a shame there's no X to mark the spot.
Indeed, and this leads us to our first conundrum. Any ideas how to decipher this map, Cersei?
Put me on the spot, why don't you? It does look like something's written here. Do you know what it says?
On that part, I actually did some research on that. Apparently it says, search the 95th.
Search the 95th? That sure makes it sound like it leads to a secret location of some sort.
Yes, and it must be related to mermaids. Aren't you just itching to find it?
You know it.
I knew it. I'm counting on you to help me solve the map's riddle.
Oh wait,
I just remembered.
huh?
You said you could douse, no? Can't you just douse for the treasure? Then we can skip this whole map and riddle business altogether.
I apologize, but that's impossible.
Truly, but why?
Dowsing's usually used to find waterways, veins of ore, and other such things. My dowsing, however, can be used to find people and objects imbued with spiritual power. However, I must be familiar with the spiritual power that I'm looking for.
I see. In other words, you wouldn't be able to find a treasure you've never seen or heard of.
Yes, the distance from which I can detect the source also depends on how strong the spiritual power is.
It's not quite the superpower I thought it was.
I say we've had enough of a diversion. Let's get back to investigating your map. I say we've had enough of a diversion. Let's get back to investigating your map.
To be frank, I didn't just come here to solve the map's riddle. My real goal is to find an actual mermaid.
Oh yes, I had a feeling that was it.
So you already do. Exorcists sure have some keen instincts.
What will you do if you find a mermaid? Do you want to become immortal?
I suppose. Might as well, considering all the trouble finding one will be.
Your reasoning is unexpectedly uninspired.
Simple as though it may be, I find the idea quite romantic, akin to ascending to a new stage of humanity.
Sure, I guess.
I take you disagree with my thinking, Cersei.
I fail to see why my opinion should matter here. What you do is your decision to make. Though I'm not certain that an immortal can still be called human. Still, your decision is irrelevant to my duty, so I will try not to interfere. Actually, meeting an immortal might be a rare once-in-a-lifetime chance. Please transcend humanity and let me examine you.
I'd prefer if you didn't speak of me like a research specimen, but I'll overlook it for now.
Though I do wonder if immortality would actually bring you any happiness. When you look at old folktales, it tends to be less of a blessing and more of a curse.
Jeez, don't say that after I already made up my mind and everything.
Well, I'm sure you'll be alright. If you tire of immortality, You need only embark on a journey, like a modern-day Yao Bikuni.
That is one way to look at it, though I think the nun part might be an issue. Well, I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself. There's no immortality to be had till I find the mermaid flesh to bite into. So let's start there.
Understood. I'm also quite interested in finding a mermaid myself. Searching just for mermaid meat alone seems like a waste.
Agreed. The best way to go about this would be to find a living human mermaid. And I have no doubt this map will lead us to a place that's related to mermaids and immortality.
This is quite exciting.
Now this is what I call a true adventure. No matter the era, there's nothing better than a quest for the unknown. Let's take a good look.
Oh.
Did you notice something?
It looks like something is written on the other side.
I see. I knew I must have missed something.
How did you miss looking at the back of the map, my dude?
I should carefully hold the edge when I want to look at the other side. The phrase "search for the 95th" is written on the map around the location of Ise province. Circe, do you recognize the symbol in the lower right?
It appears quite similar to Sanskrit, however, I don't recall a character quite like this one. It may be a mark unique to the cartographer, like a signature.
If that's the case, it's irrelevant to our investigation.
I agree, although my opinion will change should we come across a symbol elsewhere.
It's a map of Ise Bay. Judging from its condition, it's quite old.
If I were to guess, I would say it's over 100 years old. No, perhaps even more than 200 years old.
I wonder how old
it really is.
How did you miss this, dude?
Take a close look at the spots on the back of the map.
Oh, it's the constellation. Oh, those? I dismissed them as a bunch of stains.
Do you really think that's all they are? Something about those spots feels familiar. Wow, what a coincidence that we just so happened to look up and talk about that random constellation that had to do with this one.
Eureka! Inspiration strikes. I figured it out.
It's a bit hard to see what you mean when looking at the back of the map. Can you point at the front?
Ah, you make a fair point. I may be less inspiration struck than I first assumed. I'll have to think on this a bit more. Eureka! Inspiration strikes! I figured it out.
Did you? Where's the treasure?
Oh, she wants me to actually... Oh, I thought Eureka was just him going, yes, I see the constellation. This is where we saw the constellation. So on the map, it's here. I have no doubts, it's here. Behold.
Huh? Why there?
It felt right.
I hope you don't mind me asking, but would you care to show me a more definite location?
Dang it. Oh, I bet he's pointing at, I bet I'm supposed to point at Kamishima. Oh, wait, wait, did I find something by accident?
Look closer, isn't that Taishima?
You're right, it depicts an island to the south of Kamishima. It's safe to assume this map was made before Taishima sank then.
That makes it over 400 years old, and made during the Sengoku period. Incredible.
So it must be Taishima. That's this one, right? Wait, no, so this is Kamishima. So this is Taishima. I have no doubts it's here. Behold.
It may be tough to figure it out now, unless we find a way to shine some light on the riddle.
Oh. Oh. That's why this exists. Oh, maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to hold it up.
There's a reason why they're letting me hold it like this. Ah, that's what I need. I'm on fire now. No mistakes from me. Have you figured it out? Do they want the center of the triangle? Yes, yes. The map is very lovely and see-through. Are you sure that's the spot, though? That's not what I meant to do. What if I point at Taishima? I don't think that's the answer though. Wait, what does this line have to do with it though? Look for the 95th. There's no way there's 95 dots, are there? Like, how close do they want me to be? Like, was it just because I wasn't pointing exactly in the center of the triangle? Yeah, Cersei, if you're so smart, you point it out. For the 95th. Oh, what makes you say so? Why, it's simple. This very spot marks the answer to our riddle. Do they want me to name the star? Altair or Hikoboshi? I mean, it's not Taishima. Taishima's here. Altair. Oh, did I get it? Did I get it completely by chance? With the wrong reasoning? They're talking about the tales, which I did not read. Oh, it's the same thing. Episode 95, Hikoboshi, and Hikoboshi is Altair. So I kind of got it by chance. Not exactly by chance, though. Having fallen in love with a woman who serves in the imperial court, a man finally manages to meet her after patiently waiting for the right moment. However, the two are still separated by a screen. The man recites a poem to her, proclaiming his love for her is greater even than Hikoboshi's love for Orihime. He compares the screen separating them to the Milky Way that separated the two legendary lovers. Moved by his words, the woman removes the screen, allowing them finally to meet face to face. Okay, I'll take it. Seriously though, we went through an hour of lore just to tell me that? Wait, I need to read the whole thing. You see, the 95th in the riddle must refer to the 95th tale in the Tales of Ise, and the title of that tale is none other than Hikoboshi. Next, note how the summer triangle constellation is drawn on the back. The location of Hikoboshi or Altair corresponds to this very spot on the map. Incredible, I should have expected nothing less. You truly are a genius, Avi. Nothing compares to the rush of a breakthrough. Let's keep riding this high. Even if we just search the entire area on the map, it's in the middle of the sea. How are we supposed to search a place like that? Looking for an unknown object somewhere on a large swath of sea floor seems like an impossible task. Is that why they take Mare with them, because she's an Ama diver? You're right, that does sound difficult. We might have to ask our friendly CEO for help. He did give us his card. However, wouldn't that mean we'd have to inform him of the map?
No other way about it. In addition, should we find anything, I imagine he'll expect to share the spoils. I really want to keep it for myself. Sharing is the worst.
I understand, but we have no other options.
It's a shame, but I suppose you're right. We should contact him as soon as we can.
Oh, thank goodness, that section was shorter. I have time for this one? If this one's under half an hour, I'd happily do it, but I have a feeling it will not be under half an hour. Okay, you know what? Let's leave this one for tomorrow then. Dang, so in Paranormasight 1, after the second stream, I felt like we were getting close to being halfway through the story. In this game, this is stream 2, and I feel like we're still at the beginning. Like, we're still barely setting the stage for these characters, Yumiko and Arnav. And yet, on the other hand, we have the full story on these guys, which is, I guess getting to this ending is kind of like getting Shogo's ending in the first game. It just feels like this part was just a killer. This part was so long, all just for a little bit of lore on stars so we could do this part. At least it means I think I'm done with all the lore we learned here, right? Nothing else here is relevant, I guess. I hope. I really want to do this one and this one together because it feels like they go hand in hand because it's Treasure Hunt Part 1 and Part 2. Then again, I'm glad we did these two together because this one directly references clues from this one. I really want to get to this one. At least this one, things start to happen, I assume. Oh well. I guess that's where we're gonna leave off for today. That's a good place, I think. And even if this game's longer than the first one, fine. And also, we have a few more days extra to do this game anyways, because Resident Evil comes out on Friday, and I want to play that on release. But that gives us the rest of this week, so actually, it would have been fine. I feel like they could have taken the second half of the previous chapter and combined it with this one. I feel like the reason why they do that is because this one has a puzzle in it. So if you want to click on this one and replay it, you could just go straight to the puzzle. And then this is literally just all just info dump, info dump, info dump, info dump. I think it would have been nice if, like, in this one they visit like 4 locations. Maybe separate this into 2 episodes, each with 2 locations, or something like that. I think that would have made it more manageable. Like, this one just felt so long. But it literally didn't have anything else besides reading lore. Like, there was no puzzle, there was no gameplay. Oh well. So far, like, this game, I'm still interested, but my interest peaked already, and now I'm just losing it. Like, it's going downhill from here, just because there's so much lore dump, which is interesting, but it feels like they're just doing too much at once now, instead of sprinkling it here and there. And also because I'm not super invested in the whole mermaid thing. I'm interested in the whole Kamishima Island and Yuzu's mom thing, but I'm not interested in the mermaid thing. Oh well, we'll see. We'll see. I also heard that they intentionally toned down, like, the violence and horror in this game, because apparently people didn't like that in the first game. But to that I say, pah! Isn't the whole point for the horror? Like, you come into a game with the word paranormal in its name and you think horror and mystery, right? But I don't know. Whatever. I think that's good enough for today. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream. I hope you're still enjoying this playthrough. The VODs are going up on YouTube anyways, so you can catch up if you miss anything. Let's say hello to my friend Drago. He's playing Animal Crossing. Let's go say hi to him. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more Paranormasight, The Mermaid's Curse. Take care. Bye, froggy friends.